Okay, what is happening, guys? Welcome back to the Bucher's Batch of Boys podcast. I am joined not by Kyle. I'm joined instead by two guys that are better than Kyle today, and that's Brendan McTaggart, Griffin Gradala. Brendan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm well, dude. Super
Great
psyched to
to
be here.
start the season, man.
Yeah, and we're here on Friday of opening day weekend, so it's exciting. Baseball just got back started. Griffin, how about you? How you feeling, buddy?
Pretty good. I was excited to see who was the co-host and who was the guest between Brendan and I. So
What do you
pretty
think?
good.
Is Brendan my co-host or are you my co-host?
Brendan, what do you think?
I think Griffin's the co-host. I'm just the guest, man. I
Heck
got a
yeah!
lot to
Welcome
answer
on,
to.
Brendan. Welcome on to the Bucher's Batch of Boys.
Yeah, Brendan, welcome as our guest then. Um,
No thanks.
it's pretty crazy because I feel like for someone who's not been on since last year, you have probably gotten the most like time talked about. You're someone who other people have asked to have on. I think we did our poll about who we wanted to have first. Dom was number one. You were number two.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's good we're finally getting you on here because even before that, people wanted you on, and since then you've been like the guy who's made all the most, I think, controversial, exciting moves.
Yeah.
The man of mystery. Well, Brendan, before you
Certainly
talk
made some
about you, can I talk
decisions.
about you?
Yeah,
Because we all
talk
like,
about me. Go ahead.
Griff, why
I
don't
feel like we all
you?
fight to talk about Brendan. So yeah, I feel like total man of mystery. Like I'm interested to hear what you have to say. So
That's it. What?
Okay.
yeah. Now you can talk. Now you can talk.
What the hell, Griff? So I don't know, Brendan. Let's start just without going through like, every single move. I don't want to make you talk about every single trade you've made. Um, but generally, when last season ended, going into this season, it seems like there was obviously a pretty conscious movement towards getting as many super high upside top prospects. I think everybody would like to have a bunch of prospects that are good, but you have like
Sure.
all the best ones basically. You also trade away a lot of both more expensive, less expensive, medium cost guys who are around now. But sort of what has been your thought process?
Yeah, so I guess it starts with last year. I mean, I over leveraged myself big time. I traded away a lot of dudes last year, mostly all to Griffin. So I ended up with, you know, a bunch of guys that I had no capability of keeping. And I mean, I kept Soto and Judge, of course, but I couldn't keep Jose Ramirez. I couldn't keep Goldschmidt. I wasn't going to be able to keep Trey Turner. And even with trading the guys that I did, I get those two guys back on my team. I have like $10 to spend in the draft. So I really didn't like that position. And then I also gave away a lot of other really good players too. It's like Tariq Skubal is going to compete for the Cy Young, and I gave him away as a throw in on a Goldschmidt trade. So that one really hurts. It
You didn't
just
know then, though.
No, of course not. But that kind of thing, when you do what I did last year, you go all in to try to win. Those are the kind of things you give up on. So yeah, just going into the offseason, I had a bunch of money or a bunch of money already committed. So I needed to get rid of some of these guys. And I didn't really have a lot of takers on, none at all on Jose Ramirez. Miz was the only person who expressed any interest in Trey Turner, really. So he got him. I didn't have much of a choice there. So I got what I could get. I hope Hunter Green has a great year. He's got the stuff for it, but you never know. And then you know, I don't know. The whole Corey Seager thing was probably a mistake. I got really excited about Wyatt Langford, and I still really am excited about Wyatt Langford. I think he's the best prospect in baseball. Great hit tool, great power, great speed. But I, thinking about Corey Seager, I thought, in it, a guy who's often injured and coming off probably his best year, where we kind of forgot that he also missed 40 games. I thought maybe it was the best time to be able to trade him. Sort of same thing with Gallen, coming off a bunch of innings, a great year, going to the World Series. I thought it would be kind of a great time to deal those guys. I'd get good value. I don't know that I necessarily did. I think I did for Gallen. I don't know if I necessarily did for Corey Seager. That kind of put me in the situation I was in going into the draft. And then really I was on the fence going into the draft whether I wanted to try to spend on some guys to make my team really try to compete for, third place or something this year, or go the route that I ended up going. And it really really started with Mason Wynn, which surprisingly or not, like the first guy I won, and I won him for $2. So somebody tried to get him for $1 early. I'm like, I'll take Mason Wynn, but like I like him as like my last guy on my bench. But then when Willie Adames came around at $10 or something, I'm like, I already have Mason Wynn. And then a bunch of guys who I thought were going to go for $15 went for like 25 or 30, and all of a sudden my $60 wasn't going to do much. Then I found myself turning toward the future again. I bid probably way too much on DeGrom. So at that point, I was, it's just all these small things sort of pushed me closer and closer and closer to the next year kind of mentality. So, and then I don't know. Yeah, that's sort of where I was going into the season. Obviously, we'll cover the big trade.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few things I want to just check on, because I think that's interesting what you're saying there. And Griffin, I'll give you a chance too. But like for the first one, talking about in the offseason, I do think it was a pretty big trade when you traded with Miz to give away Trey Turner. It sounds like that was just someone he was interested in. But I was going to say, was it more about you thought Judge and Soto at their costs relative to, I know Jose Ramirez was almost impossible to keep unless you had almost no one else to keep. But did you just prefer Judge and Soto to Trey Turner? I feel like in ADP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you like them better coming in too?
Yeah, I'm big into plate discipline and swinging strike rates, and I just had less trust in Trey Turner.
Yeah,
he had he had a great stretch in the second half, but the first half was really scary.
Yeah.
So, and a guy who didn't steal nearly as much as we thought he could.
That's true.
And I don't know.
And then
he was.
Go ahead. With the Seager and the Langford, it's interesting. I remember me and Kyle were super shocked. I think that's the one that first I was like, oh wow, this is like a crazy, or not crazy. That's not really fair. This is just a more significant than I realized approach Brennan's taking for me. And I don't even know if it's aged badly for you, actually. I was going to say the opposite. I feel like, I know, and it's funny saying that after Seager immediately after that, like beat his timetable back and was playing opening day and looked good yesterday to me. But Langford, I feel like since then too, has ascended exponentially almost. Like he was like a top 100-ish pick, like fringy. And then now, I mean, by like last weekend in NFBC dress, he was going in as like a third, fourth round pick almost. So
yeah, I'd like to think he's a superstar.
I think he probably is. And I don't even know if that one, again, it's crazy saying because Seager then got healthy. But I think you actually like made up ground on that in my head as we're going through. I don't know if Griffin feels differently or not, but those two things specifically are just super interesting to me. Do you have anything, Griffin, about what we've talked about so far? That any follow-up questions or anything? I don't want to dominate it too much.
I think what was most interesting was just how bold a lot of it was. Like trading Wyatt Langford for Corey Seager probably was the most bold trade I've seen in this league. But it's like it really is a swing to show like what I thought you wanted to do. So, I mean, it makes sense to lean into like the $1 keepers given the rule change. Was that like part of the impetus for that?
I was going to ask you to factor in.
So having the Jacksons, Holiday and Churio, I think I also sort of realized that I couldn't quite trust them for this year. I'd love to. Like, if they're great, then that's awesome. But Jackson Holiday is starting the season in AAA. Jackson Churio could swing his way to a 30% strikeout rate and not really, hit 230 or whatever and not really be all that great. I still think they're good in the long run, but with the way my budget was, I felt like I would have to rely on those players to really compete, and I certainly wasn't getting rid of them. So, yeah, it started to become let me align my team to that timeline rather than try to win some money this year and then have to give up some of my better players and then have aging guys. I don't know. I'm hoping I win the league a couple times. So,
well, it's done a good rebuild over like a year or so stretch. Basically, that I can think of, it's been 2-3 years ago, and again, I think I opened with it. It's crazy that you already had both Jacksons. You're right, but these efforts you've made, like you really do have a bunch of like the cheapest possible high upside guys now, in a way where like I wish it was that easy to rebuild for everybody. I feel like it's bold for sure, but you also have gotten legitimately like the blue chip dudes.
Yeah, well, it helps to have Judge and Soto to trade for him, So yeah, I like it. It's fun to trade, and I want to be decisive.
Yeah, so, I like no half measures. Don't say it's fun to trade though. Charlie's not going to like that. He's going to watch this. And
okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. That's right.
No, dude,
Also, I do like how you went for like injury stashes during the draft. Like, that's almost guaranteed keeper value right there.
Yeah,
So like to really lean in and not like pick up Anthony Rendon when you're not competing, like
I
it
still
makes
might
sense.
pick him up. Yeah.
Well,
who
you
has
can't
Rendon? Why'd you say that?
because
Oh,
Raymond
sorry.
picked him up.
Oh,
Yeah,
did he?
Raymond. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I'm still looking for the injury stashes. Give them to me.
I think they're the way to do it personally too. We were going after some of the same guys there. I think with the injury stats, just because you have the spots where until you have guys who are banged up, it's free roster spots. And you mentioned like
Yep.
DeGrom, yeah, he went for what $25, something like that.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah,
It is
but
a lot, but also like after the first, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, no one who's any good went for less than like $25. So if he comes back and is sort of Jacob DeGrom, they'll probably keep him, or at least you'll
I
have.
would have. Yeah, I would have rather had the guys that you have, Nick, Alcantara, and Woodruff for two. But
That's just circumstantially they came up at the end though. I think I got lucky with
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Why don't we, as a segue here though, because this doesn't have to be entirely just Brennan talk about Brennan's offseason. I appreciate you giving us some mind into the Brennan movement though.
sure.
We've only got one big trade, so thankfully it is a big one. But we've got one trade since the last pod about a week and a half ago, and you're in it, Brennan. It's funny, Kyle did it, and then he's not here to defend himself. So clearly it was terrible for Kyle. You smoked him on this, but let's talk about it here. Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, so the two big guys you kept in the auction going into it this year. These right now guys, and you got back Corbin Carroll though. So you obviously like your side of it. Griffin, what do you think?
Yeah,
Griff, you,
So I I think it fits, the like historically what a top keeper has gone for and what two stud hitters have gone for. Like this is kind of similar to the trade we made last year, where it was basically Kyle Tucker for Soto and Joe Ram. So it's like just that in reverse kind of. So it is interesting how like that valuation is kind of held up. Um, so I think it makes a lot of sense from your side. You're trading for what's Corbin Carroll, probably like top two keeper. So you're getting, guaranteed top keeper. I think it makes sense for your side. I think Kyle lost a lot of speed there, but maybe I'm the high guy on speed. Um, and hopefully he can make it up with Jake McCarthy, I
I was
guess.
gonna say he has.
But to get the two Yankee boppers, like that'll be fun, I think. So
Yeah, it's crazy to see Kyle go for it that strongly, you know, and doing it not by trading away like a prospect, but trading away like you said, Griff. I think you're probably right. He's at worst top five keeper value. I know he's had some stuff at the shoulder at the end of last year, but Corbin Carroll was incredible last year. Like he was like outside of Acuna, a case of like number one overall player, and he's really young. He's got the pedigree. He's I think $11, right? Is that what he is? Yeah. So that's like what Jordan Lawler, who Kyle since then has had to cut because he got unexpectedly set back. Some prospects are like $11 and worth keeping. And Corbin Carroll's already done it for a year where he was one of the best players in fantasy baseball. So it's pretty hard not to see long term wise. You can't really crutch this trade and be like, oh, long term, I love it for this person. Short term, I love it for this person because it's obviously that. It's interesting hearing Griffin talk about it in the lens of like the Kyle Tucker trade last year because I didn't even think about that, but it is kind of like that. It sort of set the market, I guess, for what those are. And I guess you being involved, Brendan, in that probably knew exactly what the market should be for that.
mm-hmm.
Did you
Yeah. I
target
mean,
Corbin Carroll there? Or did Kyle come to you with Corbin Carroll? How did the negotiations kind of go?
I came to him with the two for Corbin Carroll, and he jumped right at it. So
Oh, that's
it
easy.
really came very, very quickly, like in the span of an hour or something.
That's really easy.
I messaged him, left work, got in the car, basically, and by the time I was home, the trade was accepted. So yeah, but on the note of Tucker for Ramirez and who else was it? Soto. That's I mean
yeah,
was literally my inspiration for this. That was once you decide to go one way, and I sort of had it in the back of my mind kind of all off season that I might do this. It was sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy that I ended up doing it. Maybe all these moves that I've made are because I really wanted to trade two blue chip guys or two blue chip really expensive guys for one just cheap stud. But yeah, so I don't know. It's obvious for me. If I've decided to rebuild, then obviously I think he probably top five value easy. So yeah, I kind of had hearing Tao talk on these podcasts. You kind of got the sense that he was going for it. Sort of the moves that he made for the Korea series, going for like picking guys up and trying to make sure he gets as many at bats and whatnot. Saying he wants to win the league. I sort of assumed that he was maybe willing to make this kind of trade happen. I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. But yeah,
It's good insight. And it's really interesting. On top of it being like you get the best keeper value, obviously by a wide margin there. Just in this year, maybe you could, I guess, rank Soto or Judge or both, like right there with Carroll. I think they're probably both about a tier ish ahead if I was drafting like a new team. So all I have to say, just it's interesting to get the best player in the trade too. Like I don't think you usually have that, even when you get two blue chip stars. I think you made out pretty well here. I like Kyle's side too because Kyle is going for it, and it's flags fly. It's good to go for it. It's also like hearing you talk to Brendan. I agree with you, where it's like the most alluring, fun part of it being a dynasty league. Like it's fun to dream on, dude. In like a year, I know I've said it on this, and you've heard me say it. Like they probably don't all work out. You probably have one Volpe, one Jordan Walker, one Corbin Carroll of like the three top prospects you've got. That's probably the mean outcome, and you don't know which one's which probably. But dude, if all three hit, like,
yeah,
what the hell?
it could
Like,
be
it's
real
gonna be
good.
unstoppable,
It could be real good.
and it's really
That's
fun.
what I'm hoping for.
And you didn't say it, so I'll say it for you, and you can just agree with it or not agree with it. We can move off of it. Like, I also kind of think the way you talked about Kyle did a really efficient job managing the Korea series. I think he did the best of everybody, probably maximizing every single drop he could lick out of that series he got. Um, you, me, and him, especially at the end of last year when we were fighting for first, second, and third, it was really like down to the wire with the day-to-day checking and stuff. And me and him talked a lot about how masterfully, in my mind, you did that last weekend, streaming all the starters you did. It didn't quite work out, but it was really damn impressive, I thought. So I'm saying it for you. I feel like even though you've done all of this, I think I had you like fourth or fifth when we did the power rankings before the draft. I still think you're probably around the middle of the pack or ish. And you've won the league. I know you know how to make your moves. So you still could definitely finish the money here if you spike some good outcomes this year. Do you agree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I could. Some of the decisions I make along the way might not be geared toward that, and that might mean I finish not quite there. But if I decided to take what I have in terms of keepers and continue to try to play for this year, I could maybe squeak out fifth. We were talking about you're talking about last year and all the starters at the end, and Griffin last week came up with this crazy thing about Jake McCarthy. I wanted to.
No, I never checked that, by the way, too.
I don't know.
I don't even know if it's real. He may have made that up.
He's probably right, but just the amount of times that he offered me Jake McCarthy last year was pretty ridiculous. So I just wanted to. It might take me a minute to find it, but of those last 8 starts or whatever that I had, I ended up with a half a point in both quality starts and wins. So one quality start and one win would have tied me with you. So yeah. three of my last 10 starts or something were, let me see if I can find it.
While you're looking, I just want to restate, I think I said like a month ago, we've done this league with some of the same people, a lot of the same people for more than 5-6 years now, and the league overall for like 12, 13, whatever it is now, years, 14, I think maybe even. And I think, honestly, even though I was sweating bullets having to watch your stupid guys go that weekend, I think it was a Saturday or whatever it was, that might be the most fun I've ever had in this league.
Because that was really fun.
It was, dude, I was cheering my ass off every time they gave up a hit. Every time one of them someone out, I was crying in my head. I was like losing my mind about it. That was awesome.
It was really crazy. Marcelo Zuna really saved it for me, and Kyle not hitting any home runs.
Oh my god!
A lot of things needed to happen the last week, and like if 10 things needed to happen, 9 of them went right for me. I think the last one would be that. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say on Friday the 29th. So at this point, I have like 198 starts or 190 starts. I start Zach Gallen. He's good. He gets a quality start. I start Carlos Rodon. So we have lots of Yankees fans in this league. Carlos Rodon against the Royals. Carlos Rodon gives up 8 runs. He records 0 outs. 0 outs.
Sincerely, you or I could do that.
Yeah. And then the next day, I'm starting like 6 guys. Jordan Wicks for the Cubs against Milwaukee. Again, another bad offense. Gives up 6 hits. I can't do the math and how many runs I gave up. Gave up a bunch of runs. Whip of 4. Gets 5 outs. Connor Phillips, Cincinnati. He's going against St. Louis. This is a tough one. This was like my last choice. I was between this guy and Kenny Rosenberg. So nobody's ever even heard of Kenny Rosenberg. So
Yeah,
I choose Connor Phillips. Connor Phillips faces 3 batters, walks them all on 4 pitches, is pulled. So that's 3 starters.
I'm so
they give
sorry.
a total of 5 outs. So they give up like 20 runs.
But you had such a buffer in ERA and WHIP though, Brendan. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, maybe he'll lose. I remember seeing the Rodon start. Now you mentioned it. I was like, oh, good. Maybe he'll get caught by Kyle, who I think was 1 and 2 in those with you. Nope, you were still like a tenth of a run ahead even after all that.
Yeah. So it's not a guarantee that any of those guys gets a quality start and a win, but if that happens, we're also tied. So
wouldn't that have been like probably the funniest outcome too for everybody who's not you and me, Brendan? Also, if we had had a tie at the top, this never happened.
Yeah,
That would have
liked
been
it.
Annoying.
I would have liked it better than second.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true too. But just the way you even like are able to find all that, like it's very clear to me. My point a couple minutes ago was that you're gonna. I think Kyle does a great job of it too. The way you iron the edges out here and find every little inefficiency, I will be shocked if you're not still contending. Even if you continue to trade away like Yandy Diaz and those other guys you have in the trade block right now, who are sort of now guys, not necessarily only now guys.
Yeah. Sort of.
Yeah. Sorry, Brendan, for bringing up old wounds with that question.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it would scratch at that so long. Oh yeah.
Just said, hey, if Brendan had done this.
It was at least 5 times that Griffin asked me to include Nathaniel Lowe, and in exchange he'd give me Jake McCarthy. Like I think like those actual 2 players he tried to put in many deals. So it's pretty funny.
What do you know about Nate Lowe that I don't know, Griff? Because I like Nate Lowe too, just generally, but like I feel like it sounds like he's really because you. What is his deal? Is he just before he had this injury? Was he going to be the guy? Or?
No, I just wanted all like mid boring guys, and he was like the perfect oatmeal player. So
yeah.
And I mean, with Brendan and I, it was just I needed a corner and didn't really need an outfield. So I was like, hey, do you want to do Taylor Ward for Nate Lowe in this? And on paper, it was probably about even. So that's the only reason I got Lowe.
Saved me $5 too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with all these moves too, like zooming out again, you mentioned Brendan like being decisive about it. I think that is smart because we saw it happen last year where I mean, I don't know if everybody should try to not necessarily rebuild it, retool early on. But if you're going to, it really helps to be the first mover, I think. I know the salary cap's higher now, but you're going to have fewer teams probably in a month or 2 who are interested in taking on guys. Like right now, you can convince most people they have a chance to contend if they don't necessarily believe it themselves. And everybody's got hope springs eternal right now, or buyers, in a way that I don't know if you have later on. So I think you just gave yourself more options over the last month than probably you'd have in mid-April, late April, definitely by May.
Yeah, maybe. The only thing is I
feel like the most boring.
Sorry?
I was going to say, I feel like the most boring thing is being in the middle of the pack where like you keep making moves to try to move up, but you don't like accrue keeper value. So to just stay out of that middle zone, I feel like is just a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate the middle.
Well, the middle is when you have like the 18th and 22nd best prospects. You're like 7 points in every category. You just have like no real up or down. The beautiful thing you're doing, Brendan, again, though, is you have all the top prospects. Like it's, and even before you did the full rebuild thing, you already had a bunch of the top prospects. So you're definitely not done yourself in a middle way here, I don't think.
Yeah, I appreciate all the praise. Hopefully it all works out. Yeah.
It's interesting.
But
it definitely is mostly praise. It is a little bit of curiosity still, too. I'm sure, like you said, you've heard me and Kyle talk about it. We've been not necessarily caught off guard, but like surprised by some of it, I feel like. Last thing, then we'll move off of just Brendan under the spotlight the entire time, because I appreciate you answering all of our questions we got.
Sure.
You didn't make former power rankings. No one did, really, besides me and Kyle with this much detail, I don't think. But when you look at it right now, obviously, all the prospects are incredible, like Corbin Carroll. They just become him. and you win. But who's number 2? Who's number 3? Who's number 4 this year?
This year,
Yeah, who do you think sort of is the top tier or 3?
I still think Griffin has the best team. I think probably the tiebreaker is Garrett Cole being injured and now Justin Steele being injured.
Yeah,
That's real tough, Nick. I had you second, sort of in the first kind of stretch run. I forget. I think there were 3 teams that I sort of had in the 3rd to 5th, like you guys in an upper tier, and then I sort of had Kyle, Zach, and Roman as having like some really good keeper values and being able to sort of play their way into the top tier. I still think that's probably the case, and Kyle probably is at the top of that tier now, certainly with the ability to go into tier 1. But right now, I think Griffin mentioned it. He's gave up a lot of speed, and I think I'm looking at his roster. I think his pitching has a lot of risk in it. He's counting on some guys to come back later in the season. He picked up Blake Snell, and he was a Cy Young Award winner last year. So, like, you think you can do it, but Cy Young Award winners aren't on the wire very often. So there's sort of that little bit of skepticism I have that his pitching will necessarily work out perfectly. You need some luck to happen to win. So I don't know that will happen. He's got a little bit of risk. I don't necessarily think we're all playing for second. So
good callback to
Charlie
there. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you were very similar to almost exactly what I had. I mean, this was before the draft too, but myself and Griffin, and then Kyle, you, Brendan, and Roman were I think either Roman, you, or you, Roman. Kyle was 3, and then I had you guys. So it sounds like we had very similar tiers there. Or Zach too, I guess, was in there. Maybe I had Roman 6. I don't know. And I still think right now, most of what you said is basically exactly right. I don't know if you disagree, Griffin, but I think it's probably you and me, with you giving you definitely have the edge, I think, with Justin Steele hurt. And maybe Royce Lewis too. Like, I did not have a great opening day as far as injury outcomes go, but just the nature of the beast there. I think Kyle's probably like right below us by a half tier, maybe even with us now. Honestly, it's close. And then I think it's maybe Zach 4. Anybody want to?
I think us 3 were the only people to have me first, so I think this is a good group of people to talk to. Like, everyone else in the league had you first, Nick, so they all have bad taste.
I thought they were pretty fine takes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be a good one.
We covered the one trade.
I mean, right now I'm in the bottom of the standings, so it kind of hurts to, like, ever since I made that trade, we made that trade April of last year, and ever since then I've been like looking forward to this year.
Yeah.
Just like so excited, and then day 1 I'm 14th.
I haven't looked at the standings. So. See in real time what they say. The Globulin has to be number 1, right? It's loading for me right now. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm doing well, though. And just like he predicted, Charlie Brown is in 2nd place. So the moral here is, Charlie, you had it right. You are the best, basically, besides now Kyle after his moves. Yeah, Griff, if you just had no one go, why are you down at the bottom?
Yeah, that, and I saw Matt Strom went like 0.1 innings of 3 runs today, and that's all of my pitching. So
okay. Well, the beauty of small sample size. I'll probably have 5 straight postings after this.
At least I'm leading in steals, though, so we're all good there.
Kyle could be trade partners. Let's do a.
I think Victor Scott's this year's Jake McCarthy.
Who is?
Victor Scott.
No, actually, he might. I mean, honestly, he might be.
Yeah, I think he's bad. So I think he's a bad hitter. So and he'll steal a bunch of bases. So sounds good. Yeah.
I feel like as soon as
I also had it.
I was shocked you didn't get traded like that day.
Well, so here's the thing, right? I think I also had Esteury Ruiz in 20. I think I had him in 2022. I had McCarthy last year, Jarren Duran. Like, I'm just trying to hype these guys up. No one's falling for it. Like, everyone's too smart, but come on, guys. Trade for speed from me. Please.
I thought you'd drop him. I was going to pick him up if you dropped him, but.
No, I'm too hard-headed. I'm going to hold him all year. He'll be in offers for Justin Verlander all year.
Okay. He's available.
So I think we're starting right around here. want to say it was Kyle posted, I think, on Wednesday or Thursday. Was the Dodgers Padres game Wednesday or Thursday, the first one in Korea? Anyway, we're around here when pickups have started since last time.
Yeah, I feel like you guys only did the first run of waivers, but I don't remember.
I think we started. I think it was before I got Roman Anthony back, Griff.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
definitely was. I had Graham Pauly. Dude, that was great. I thought I was being efficient like Kyle was. I was like, I'm going to get Graham Pauly. This dude's going to play third base twice against righties, maybe get some hits. He did not see the field. That was excellent. Love that. Super great that happened. And Kyle picked up Jake McCarthy. But anyway, there's like 100 pickups here. I don't know if you guys need a minute or two to look at them. If there's anything you guys have in mind already after looking at the last couple of days yourselves, is there anything you think is super interesting notes as far as pickups drops?
I had a bunch written down since this is always so overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
Do you want me to just go by team maybe?
Yeah, if you have that much
like,
to it, yeah, please do.
Yeah. So I like Brad picked up Chase DeLauder and Jeff Hoffman. I think DeLauder is a good prospect. Jeff Hoffman's a good save holds guy. Bucher, I like your pickup of Jake Fraley. I was kind of surprised Jake Fraley was on the wire like once all these Reds injuries hit. I liked Eric's pickup of Griffin Jacks. I was kind of jealous that he got the Griffin. And I feel like Roman kind of missed out not picking up Roman Anthony. Like that really didn't make sense. Jack picked up Eric Fetty, Wade Miley. You know, I have a soft spot for these old, boring pitchers, and so I really like those. Do you want me to keep going? Do you guys want to jump in?
Just one note on the Roman Anthony. I'm curious, Brendan, since you're not involved in it, Griffin and I sort of laughed to each other about the fact that I cut Roki Sasaki, and then he cut Roman Anthony to get Roki Sasaki, and then I picked up Roman Anthony. We could have just traded them and saved a buck of fab or whatever it is each. Would you rather have, if you're you, Roman Anthony or Roman Sasaki for next year? Or for right now, I guess, too.
If I am me or if I am a generic team, let's see.
Yeah, if it's different, I guess, just or qualify that. But yeah, which of us is better off with the one we have now?
I think both are pretty good. Roman Anthony's probably on that fringe, like he's probably good enough to be kept on a roster in the minor league spot, but maybe not, like probably top 30 kind of prospect. Roki Sasaki is obviously really exciting. Young, throws really hard, will probably get injured. But we don't know that he's coming over next year. So he's only 22. He'd be subject to the international bonus pool stuff. So that limits his earnings. His team doesn't have to post him. So I don't know. I thought about Roki Sasaki picking him up, but I don't know. Yeah, it's tough.
The best part is we won't know for like 5 years because probably Roman Anthony will flame out and be nothing. And then Roki will probably come over in 2 years and be great, but then get Tommy John.
Probably.
Griff, for what it's worth. Yeah, you go ahead first, actually.
Well, I was gonna say if Roki doesn't come over, I couldn't see keeping him, you know, because at that point he would still need 2 more years to be 25. Like, I feel like this is just a play. If he comes over, he's a top 50 player. If he doesn't, it's a spot I wasted all year. So
if he comes over,
it's kind of a risk, but
I think it makes sense. And again, I'm drafted him, so I think that literally the only reason I cut him, hindsight, is his first 2 starts. And I don't know if they have spring training or what the equivalent is. I think it is a version of spring training. You can correct me if you know better, but he had 2 appearances right after our draft where his velocity was very much down. He has since gotten it back up. I think he came out in the last week or so and had, I think his third one was down, but not as concerningly. His fourth one, he is touching 100 again. So in my mind, it was like, oh, he's at least a year away, even if you have things break right. And then also his velo's down. That might be a precursor to injury. I also, when I drafted him, was not expecting but hoping it would be sooner rather than later that like Junior Caminero just makes the big league team, and just it didn't happen. Which I don't know. I'm trying to walk the line of holding 3 prospects and then also still trying to win right now, which I know you guys know is a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
But real quick on that too. Brendan, did you catch over the winter meetings when I kept calling him Sasakai?
Yes.
Because like I kept calling him that, and it was like a month later. I was like, wait, his name's definitely Sasaki. Why did no one call me out on that? So yeah, I've learned it by now. It's Sasaki.
I mean, I'll
Yeah.
say I didn't know then, to be honest. I looked like a month before the draft guy, and I read something like a rumor on some forum talking about how there was closed doors conversations his team might post him a year or two early. I guess it'd be at least 2 years early because he's only 22 right now. But theoretically, he might be coming over. They thought he would be allowed to. That's enough on that one, though. What else do you have written down? Because I have a couple, but you haven't hit mine yet, so keep going, I guess.
So for Miz, I like picking up Alex Verdugo. He paid a lot though, it was like $70+, but I thought I feel like Verdugo should be definitely owned in this league, especially as a Yankees fan. Uh, Kyle obviously loved Jake McCarthy. Kind of hated that he dropped Willie Castro. I thought like Willie Castro would be perfect for his team given his need
I'll
for
hit
speed.
speed.
So hated that. Let's see. Mark picking up Jack Flaherty. And then Brendan. I think you got three guys: Mize, Joey Ortiz, and Luis Gill. Keel. And I was kind of surprised, they hadn't been picked up. And then Roman today picking up Garrett Crochet. I was surprised a team like Raymond didn't go after Crochet.
We only have, I just noticed, a minute left, so it's gonna cut us off in a sec. But I am shocked Crochet didn't go for more, and I regret not bidding more than $50 on him. Actually, I love that one for Roman.
I feel like his team is just all these young, high upside pitchers. It's like, why didn't some other team go for him?
Yeah. And then he has aging Devers and Harper, and Tatis isn't cheap. I wonder what he does this year, right? He's got a lot of these high risk kind of pitchers, but it might be his
Yeah, I thought I did.
Okay, we are back. Before that ad break abruptly ended us there, Brendan, you were talking, I believe, about.
Yeah, I'm interested to see in what Roman does this year. I mean, obviously we were talking about pickups. I like Garrett Crochet too. Obviously, great first start. Throws really hard. Only two pitches, but looked really good. And it's easy to fall in love with those kind of guys, and Roman's got a lot of them. But that means it's also easy. It's also not so easy to give up on him. And with the way his team is built, his best chance might be this year. It might be next year, but I was saying Harper and Devers with the 30% inflation will be more expensive than previously, and Tatis is beyond that too. So next year might not be easy for him to build a great team like he has now with all these keeper value around those guys if they're going to be his main pieces. So I'm just interested to see what he does this year, whether he wants to hold on to all this future value or he's gonna trade a lot of it. So obviously he has a lot of future value. So if he trades a bunch of it for really good players, he could shoot up my power rankings too into maybe the first tier. So we'll see. Interesting team.
Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate. I mean, do you sort of agree, Griff?
Yeah, I feel like probably part of the issue is right now the guys like Brian Wu, Andrew Abbott, all the exciting players I can't even think of, like they probably don't have the value he wants in a trade. Because like I know I tried to get some of them and I wasn't valuing them as highly as they probably deserved. But like CES, all these guys right now probably don't have a lot of value that they could have if they like continue to show it. So
yeah, maybe.
I mean, I think the most likely outcome is with the one like Crochet you just got. The most likely outcome probably is Crochet has a couple good starts, or maybe just even this one good start, and then whatever the sort of jig is gets figured out, and he gets shoved a few times, and he doesn't go deep in games because he's not a long-term starter before this year, and he's not someone you want to keep. I'm just surprised. I feel like watching him pitch a little bit yesterday, I sort of expected he'd be a guy who went for like 20% of someone's fab. And my keep your honest bid was, I think, like 35 or $40, just like 100%, not really wanting him, but like thinking there's no way you should go for less than that. So I think Roman got a pretty good choice there, because I remember thinking, like you mentioned earlier, Brendan, trading as a throw in Scooble. I've definitely, in years I've been going for it, made trades where I look back on the guy I threw in, I'm like, damn, like what the hell was that? Like I know this guy was, even though I like the guy, like I think about a Outman last year, Griff. I loved Outman going into the year. I drafted Outman. I was super into him all spring. Just got thought he was going to play the majority of the time for the Dodgers. He had a couple good days, and then I immediately was like, oh, great, I can upgrade to Sal Perez from Alejandro Kirk with him. Very specific trade. Didn't really matter that much at all for me last year. Other than that, Outman was the best player in it by the end. And I feel like there's that sort of like we're talking about with a like Roki Sasaki's exciting as a prospect hold, just because if he ends up being useful, he ends up being really useful. And if he's not, it's pretty easy to cut bait with him. You're making a really good point, Brandon, about Roman having a lot of guys where it's like, ooh, you don't really want to cut them for nothing, but also like they're kind of not necessarily what you want them to be right now either. I
Yeah.
feel like with Crochet, there's a good chance you'll find out in the next month probably what you have, and you might have the next Tariq School. And if you don't, you just move on. So I like that one a lot too. That's the one I'd written down. I know it's the one with one of the bigger money amounts on it.
Yeah. If I could add one more thing, I was once that team who had a bunch of young guys like that I didn't want to give up. And I think I wasted a year of Jordan and Kyle Tucker not wanting to give up on guys. I think Brendan Rodgers it was a guy I didn't want to give up on, and I think he went like 0 for 50 to start a season, and I kept all of that. So
It's
it was
hard.
just, yeah, it is hard. It's tough. You gotta figure out where you think your best opportunity is and make sure you take advantage of it.
A criticism of fantasy baseball in general I have is what you're saying too, where it's especially like the next week or so, people are gonna get inundated with here's the hot pickup, it's Garrett Crochet. Here's the hot pickup, it's who's the other right who just had 2 home runs? Nick Martini. I
Yeah,
remember when your Kike Hernandez had 3 home runs or 2 home runs. I think it was 2 home runs opening day. Last year, the other outfielder who I traded
Trace Thompson.
Trace Thompson had 3 home runs opening day. Um, we get smashed with this guy's I want to pick up. This guy's I want to pick up. This is a hot ad. The guy who could save your season or really get you going. But very seldom do we talk very often, or do you hear very often people talk about like who you should cut, like who is okay to cut bait with a couple days in when you love them all off season. And I think that's honestly a lot harder too. It's very easy to pick someone up. It's a lot harder to, whether it should be or not. There's like the sunk cost fallacy thing. I feel like for me at least, where it's like I don't want to admit that maybe I was wrong to be as high as I was on this guy. And I have a tough time sometimes cutting bait with guys, so I should have cut a lot earlier for that exact reason. So you make a great point. I don't know what Roman's thought process is. Maybe Roman just is a lot higher than we are on all those guys. Whenever he comes on, we'll have him sort of talk about it, I'm sure. Because I agree with you, too. Like I said, he was in my top 5 teams projections-wise, and I think he has a chance to really contend this year if guys stay healthy. Brendan, Griffin gave us a bunch. Did you have any he did not mention, or anybody else you want to talk about as far as ad
Yeah,
drops?
I mean, we've mentioned a lot. I all of them were good. I missed my opportunity to pick up a Brendan, so Brendan Donovan kind of stunk. And then
There's so many though.
are there?
It's not like Griffin and Roman. Like we're special, but
Yeah, maybe.
I should have got Nick Martini, actually, then. You're right. Now I think about it.
Yeah, all of my guys, I put in 3 different $1 bids for this morning, and all 3 of them were picked up by someone else. Conforto and Kevin Biggio, and forget who the last one was. Somebody else got him for $1, and then I wanted Jonathan Aranda back, and I didn't get Jonathan Aranda back. So
I hate that you didn't get your.
obviously, I like those pickups.
I love that this league is that active. It's annoying to not get your dues. I feel like I have to put in like 10 claims to make sure I get guys too.
Yeah, that was annoying.
I was surprised neither of you said it, especially you, Griff, honestly. The same way with the Roki Sasaki and Roman Anthony thing, basically. Me and Miz traded the Ryan O'Hearn and Luke Raley.
Oh, yeah.
Then we each cut them. And I ended up picking up Luke Raley, and then I cut him again. So,
well, I had that for 2 things. I had that as my like bozo pick of the week, where you wasted $1 a fab, and that 0.1% is going to like really affect your strategy. And then I also had it for the collusion pick of the week, because every single player you've traded away this year has been dropped. So it's like kind of, is there collusion? Is there not? I don't know.
who was my first trade of the year with again?
Tyone with me.
Yeah.
And I can't confirm or deny if there was collusion there, so
I was going to say, couldn't you give us some insight if there was collusion?
can't. I'm like, if I can't talk about it.
I see.
One other one, I wanted to call out like the hypocrite pick of the week, and that was also you, Nick, with picking up a second catcher. After you've talked so much smack about everyone
Actually, this
holding
is funny. You're right. So that,
So
that is exclusively because there's a bunch of teams with off days today. Mitch Garver's hitting fourth and hit the ball hard twice yesterday. There's a good chance him or Heim gets cut tomorrow. Don't worry. By the time
I
people
was
hear
actually
this,
I
it's
was
like,
actually curious about you exchanging Garver for Heim. I don't know. I thought Garver plays more because he's at DH more. I don't know.
I
I
might
thought that
keep
would be a
Garver. You're right,
tiebreaker,
Brendan.
which is interesting.
No, you're right. I made the swap because for some reason in my head, when I was making the swap, Garver was not going to play every day because of Cal Raleigh. And I had Garver, so I think I should have known this. This is an example of just I didn't know my shit, I guess. But until he gets hurt, it seems like he is just going to DH every day. And if that's the case, like, I don't really care if he gets hurt down the road because, I don't know, guy hitting fourth in a, not great, but I think an okay lineup in Seattle. That's pretty exciting. He's not catching either. I feel like a non-catching catcher is like the best thing in the world. Um, so I don't know. It may well be Heim who gets cut. I'm not keeping both. Don't worry, Griff. I know I'm a hypocrite for a day, but it's mostly just because when you sort by guys who are available for today, I think Garver was like my third. Like Brendan mentioned, I had like 8 claims in. I think Garver was like fourth on my list, and I got him. And I think Orlando Arcia was like 8th on my list, and I got him. He was the other one. Just so many pickups were made today, which again, testament. I love how competitive the league is. I love how active everybody is. Um, it's not a good or a bad one, but I'm curious. I liked at the time, and I've not picked him up because I have too many prospects. Brendan, the last one on this is AJ Smith-Shawver. Do you just decide pitching prospects aren't your thing, or because I liked when you picked him up?
I don't know. I picked him up. I dropped him for Christian Scott, who I'm probably equally like. I don't know. He could be gone too.
Yeah,
Smith-Shawver is probably number 7 in Atlanta. They got the 5 they are now with Ronaldo Lopez as the 5, and then Bryce Elder is probably the 6. So Shawver might not be as close. So I don't know. Christian Scott probably maybe isn't that close either. I don't know. I just saw 108 stuff plus in spring. He looked command wise pretty good. So I don't know. It was worth a shot. Good
yeah,
ballpark. It might be gone for Jordan Lawler. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
yeah, yeah. Actually, I mean, we're in a safe place too because by the time this airs, it will be at least after noon tomorrow. I have no idea how long whatever limited editing I do will take. It won't be as good as what Kyle does, but it won't be up before tomorrow, so no one will hear this before claims get made. Uh, Jordan Lawler, I'm not trying to pick him up. You don't have to disclose if you are or not. I don't think I am just because I already have 3 prospects. What do you guys think though? Purely, don't talk about if you want him or not. Just purely from like the Kyle standpoint though. Kyle's going for it, so I think it makes sense to maybe cut bait. But I was surprised because Jordan Lawler is after you take out like the top 5 or so prospects, which is basically all of Brendan's prospects and maybe Caminero. Like Lawler's basically there. So he's a really high prospect. He's $11 though. You guys shocked Kyle cut him?
Not with the injury.
No,
Like it's going to be a while before you find out if he's the real deal or not. And then the fact that he's 11, he was $11 this year, right?
Yeah.
So like he'd really need to show something to really be worth it. So I don't blame him.
yeah. Sort of echo that statement. I don't know. In AAA, he was fine last year. I collect some AAA stats. So like in 80 plate appearances, he had an 8.8% barrel rate, just a 33% hard hit rate, which isn't great.
Yeah.
About 11% swinging strike rate, 108.6 max EV. And I have him as about average plate discipline. So, I mean, he's got speed, but 6 categories, maybe speed's a little less important. I don't know. I'm not sold that he's a regular major leaguer in the short term, or he's probably a regular in the long term, but I'm not sure he's going to be a star. I don't know. Could be, but I'm not so confident in it.
Okay. So it sounds like we're all sort of on the same page here then. Especially because, I mean, being already $11 and Kyle, we've already established Kyle's definitely going for it. And Kyle also doesn't care about speed. So it makes sense he would discard those guys kind of that way he has there. It's interesting too, which I made the joke about the speed just now, but you guys accurately pointed out like Kyle's pitching stuff. I wonder, we'll have to ask him, I guess, whenever he's back in the country and on a pod again at some point in the future. I've got to think he's planning to trade for guys like starters and maybe stolen bases in the middle of the season. I know we've talked conceptually about that'd be a thing I'd be interested in doing, but I know talking conceptually about in a vacuum, it's a great idea to do it. Like maybe with you, Griff, taking one of your like SP3s or fours away from you in the middle of the season, or trading for someone who's way ahead in steals in the middle of the season. Again, it's what I would do in a vacuum, but it is hard to sometimes get a trade to happen because, like you guys talked about with Roman, for example, and his SPs, or Brendan, you in a previous year with your SPs, who you liked but didn't like enough based on what they were doing at the time of. It's hard to find partners sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it's not necessarily easy to do it, even if you have the right idea.
Yeah. I had trouble last year trading like all of Bryce Miller, Mason Miller, and Brian Wu. Like I think I offered to a bunch of people. I was probably way overvaluing them. But yeah, they're not surprisingly difficult to trade. So
That was my experience too with Tanner Bybee and Taj Bradley. Like
yeah,
I thought they were the hottest stuff, and like half of them turned out to be good.
Pitchers especially
well,
are such ridiculous wild cards though, because like either they're nothing or they're really good. Like there's not really much in between.
and
So
there's so many of them too.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like
Yeah,
they
they do.
become more exciting quickly. It's almost like running backs in fantasy football, where like once they have a job and they show you a little bit, like it becomes super valuable. It's like getting 20 touches or whatever. But like they can also get hurt more often. They also like seldom end up working out, I feel like. But when they do, it just hits with so much value. I don't know.
Yeah, they suck. I feel like going back to Kyle, like just based on his name, I feel like what he wants to do is go for like I feel like he thinks he can find pitching, like with a name like Green Goblin.
He definitely
Like I
does.
feel like he thinks he can find globby pitchers.
And Brendan pointed out, like, and I've mentioned it much times too. Like, I made fun of him when he picked up Blake Snell last year. But Blake Snell wasn't a really smart pick. Barrios too, like a month before that, was excellent. And then,
After I dropped him.
sorry, buddy. But then, I mean, he also missed on Alek Manoah, so he takes shots with that. I think more aggressively maybe than the average person does. But I think it's astute too that Brendan mentioned a little bit ago that it might not necessarily work out. It's almost like having it work for you one time. Not that it's a bad habit. I don't want to say it is. I think it's good to be proactive. Like it's smart to be proactive. That's definitely a good habit. But what I'm trying to express, I feel like, is having it work out a few times with big wins like that, with like Barrios and Snell. I think he had one other one last year too. I don't remember who it was off the top of my head, but he had one other I think good pitcher when I looked at it. Can reinforce like, oh, I don't have to worry about that at all. I can just do that every time. It'll work.
Yeah.
And
you
if
end up thinking that the probability is higher than it actually is. Like
exactly.
we don't know what the actual probability is, but you end up taking that chance extra. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're exactly right. You're saying probably more eloquently than I am what I'm trying to express. Like if we play Russian roulette and I have a 50-50 shot twice of blowing my brains out, but twice I don't. It doesn't mean like it was a good idea. I'm not like guaranteed to keep doing a good job getting lucky. So I don't know. I'll be curious. Like I could see Kyle this year getting 2 Manoas or 3 Manoas and one good pitcher, or 3 Blake Snells again and 1 Manoa, and then he ends up having amazing pitching again. It'll be really interesting to see sort of what he does.
Yeah, you can tell he didn't like eat Taj Bradley's 7 ERA last year like I did. He definitely is a little more excited about high upside pitching. And after last night with Bieber, like he's probably feeling pretty good. He's probably still like feeling himself after that. So we
Bieber's
just have to hate on him to bring him down.
no, Bieber's super interesting. Bieber, I had Bieber the last 2 years and hated him last year because he was obviously just not doing anything under the hood well. I'm trying to find real quick the stat I had up. Bieber, though, after his first start yesterday, his stuff plus relative to the average stuff plus from last year is actually lower. It's up slightly on the fastball and up slightly on the change. I believe it's either the change of the curve. One of them's up a little bit, one of them's down a lot. So I'll be curious how he sustains that. Because also I was seeing his changeup is at 91, which is basically what his fastball was last year. Like I saw the average discrepancy was like around 94 for the fastball and like in the like 90 range, almost 91 with a couple 91s in there for the changeup. I don't know how you make that work over and over.
It's too hard. It's too easy to hit, I think.
Yeah, it's like the same speed almost.
Yeah.
So obviously he did amazing at the start, but it was very intriguing. All right, Griff, Brendan.
What are you talking? I was trying to pull it up. I was trying to pull up what his speed was yesterday. 89, yeah. His changeup was 89.
He threw at least 1 or 2 at 91 also. I watched the last inning of it.
And his cutter was 86.
Does it show you with the curveball? Did he throw curve or what was his other pitch?
It was cutter, changeup, fastball, slider.
Maybe it's a slide I'm thinking of. Then I just don't know his arsenal that well. One of them was down a lot. The changeup and the fastball are both up a little bit, but basically the stuff plus was about the same and a little bit down from last year on the aggregate. So I have no idea what that means other than just probably it's more important he added speed, I think, to the fastball at drive line. He could probably just adjust, but we'll see what happens there. Anything else with pickups though? Okay.
I think we covered it.
Yeah, I think we got him.
Unless you guys hate the idea, I think it'd be fun if we did the same thing I had Kyle and Miz do last week too, and have each of you draft 2 hitters and 2 pitchers who are currently free agents from today, and we'll see which of you has the better 6x6 stats by the end of the season.
Brendan, I think you should sort by roster rate and just take the first 2 guys.
Yeah, Yadier Molina.
If I were
yeah,
you, that's what I
noticed
would do.
I almost said something about that. And the wrong Yamamoto or whatever. Yeah, Jordan Yamamoto.
Yeah.
There must be one of one in
big
like a
things.
retiree league or something.
Yeah, what is that? I don't understand what that is. It's been like that for like 3 or 4 days now. The first one I saw was a Yamamoto though, like I think 3 or 4 days ago, and I was like, did he sign somewhere and like is good now, or like what happened to him?
See,
But
at
yeah,
first I was like, did Eric get really upset after that first start? Like it was one bad start. It wasn't that bad.
yeah, I was like, did he get cut? That's crazy to me. Brendan, as our guest, since Griffin said he's the co-host, though, you can go first.
So I take
Or go second and third.
we're doing a snake, and I can take anyone that's currently on the.
Is anybody who as of today
waivers.
we're spotting is a free agent? Yeah.
I see Max Kepler there. That looks interesting. I'll take Max Kepler.
Okay. Griff, you have 2 picks.
Let me sort. I feel like it might give a lot of insight into the moves I want to make, but I'm gonna pick
Again, I
up.
promise you it won't happen for a day or 2. This pod's not going to come out tomorrow. Or if it does,
Well, I probably won't pick them up for weeks. But Sean Manaea.
If you're not going to pick him up for weeks, I don't know what you're worried about.
I just don't want other people to know that I love old, boring pitchers.
This exercise is exclusively made so I can know who you guys are high on, basically.
Just like you saying, don't pick up 2 catchers. Don't do it.
I'm trying to artificially lower the catcher market so I can have all the good catchers.
And I guess I'll go Brandon Marsh since he hit a homer today. I get that stat, right?
Good question.
I'm taking the Cal approach, just trying to rack up early stats with one.
I don't know. I feel like you almost shouldn't, but I feel like it's going to be easier if I just look at the total stat. I don't know. Brendan, you don't have Brendan. What do you think? Should I let him have the home run?
Yeah, let him have it.
Okay. Okay, you can have it, Griff. Also, weird choice, Griff, to take both hitters. I would have, because now, or no.
Wait, did I?
Pitcher.
I was like, maybe I wasn't paying enough attention.
I wrote it down wrong. I'm sorry. Okay, Brendan, you get 2 picks.
I'm gonna go with Keaton Wynn. And let's see. How about Ryan Noda?
A lot of walks there.
And who was your first pick?
Kepler.
My first pick, Kepler.
No, so you got 1 pitcher, 2 hitters. So I'll go Mike's. Yeah, I'll lock it in. I'll go Mike Soroka.
Okay.
And sorry, my hitters are loading. Do you have any speed?
You can't take
Noda
Mitch
and
Garver.
Kepler? No, it's I already locked up steals, I think. Dang, these are some bad players. I'm like on the second page, like Javi Baez. Oh, Mark Canha.
Yeah. And then Brendan, you get 1 last pitcher.
Can I? Who are Griffin's pitchers again?
He's got Manaea and Mike Soroka.
I want to take Ryan Yarbrough just for the 1 save. And the maybe wins. So I think that.
That's smart
That's a
because you're
good
probably
pick.
gonna win saves
Yeah.
now.
Otherwise, I like
You know,
Zach Littell. Maybe I don't know. But
Oh,
yeah,
good
Ryan
games for
Yarbrough.
you guys there because Griffin's
yeah.
getting that home run from Marsh. You're getting that save from Yarborough. I think I like Littell better in a vacuum for sure, but Yarborough's already got one save. And then follow up question on it. Wow, actually, hold on. It's kind of obvious. I feel like looking at it after just one day, but between Mark and Kyle's from last week, Mark's got Wilmer Flores, Jerickson Profar, and then Ranger Suarez and Ian Hamilton. And then Kyle's got Lance Lynn, Willie Castro, Hunter Renfro, and Garrett Crochet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kyle might beat this there, I
That
think.
was looking pretty good.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was gonna say who do you like better, but I feel like Kyle's got a pretty comfortable lead there.
You know what's funny is I was looking at Ryan Yarborough today, and I was like, Nick's gonna pick him up. He's gonna have like a 2.5 ERA, one WHIP. He's gonna rack up all these stats, drop them, and then he's gonna be total garbage for the rest of the year. Like as soon as you drop him, and that's gonna make me so mad.
Yanni Chirinos and Ryan Yarbrough, since they were like first together in Tampa, I've been one or both multiple times pretty much every season. I just really like that archetype too. The guy who's like not very good, but will pitch 2 or 3 innings as a follower. I don't know. You tell
Yeah,
yourself you
that
can
kind of
pick
with
the
the
matchup.
last year.
Well, you tell yourself you can pick the matchups and get good. Like I'll only stream him when he's facing the Athletics, and like it'll work. But as Brendan mentioned like an hour ago now, with a bunch of those streamers at the end of the season, it just takes one there where Yarbrough gets shelled. Like it wasn't him, but one of those someone like him on the Dodgers staff got absolutely shellacked in that first game or the second game, I guess, overseas. Somebody who I had a claim for just didn't get. I don't remember who it was, but I was happy it worked out that way where I didn't have him.
That reminds me of one other pickup that we didn't talk about was Frankie Montas. How I was looking at him on your team, I was like, okay, he's in Cincinnati. Like I remember watching them last year, made decent contact. Like, okay, maybe he'll get blown up. And nope. Like it's great outing. Bastard.
You didn't want to say it was a good pickup?
Well, that's the issue, is it was a good pickup.
Thanks.
Bastard.
If it makes you feel better, he has to beat both Garrett Cole and Justin Steele now. So I'm still probably not doing great there.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
actually,
like to be the villain, but I
you go
can't
ahead.
root for injuries.
Yeah.
Like I was like, can I root for injuries? Like sarcastically, and I was like, no, that's bringing negativity into the world.
You don't have to. It's already happening with, again, Cole, Royce Lewis, all of them.
I just
Steele.
don't want you to have any excuses when I beat you this year. You know, like I
If
want
you
it to be
not do,
fair.
it's already built in. No, but I meant to ask you too, Griff, when we started this, after I talked to Brandon much about everything he did, and I just forgot. But tell the people what they're probably all asking about on the chat forums. Shohei Ohtani, you're his owner. How concerned are you? Are you concerned at all?
No, not at all. Like that first day, I was a little bit like, okay, this sounds kind of shady. And then like as soon as he put his story together, and he he didn't he put together a story that was true, and it is perfect, and I was like, okay, he's good. He's like the GOAT for a reason, GOAT PR person. So I think he's gonna be good. I don't think. I mean, do you guys think he's like his story is legit or not?
The fact that it changed is a little concerning. That Ipe gave it an interview and then all those details were recanted. I don't know what that's about. That's weird, but most likely just either didn't know or I don't know. It's probably fine.
Yeah, I think there's still a pretty wide range of outcomes, but like a lot of them are that he's fine, or he pays like an undisclosed amount of money, like a Jared Kozart, or whoever it was, did in like 2015. Because even if he did bet, there's no guarantee he'd bet on baseball. In which case, I think just because of how big a star he is, it'll get swept under the rug and he'll pay a fine. But Brendan's right. Where the one thing I'm a little bit worried about if I were you is just that the story changed like significantly. I'm not sure how with the amount of like setups in place to like stop you from moving money around. That 4.5 million was moved and like not caught somehow like a bank. But even more so, I was reading something where and I'm not a lawyer, but somebody who's a lawyer for their day job who I follow on Twitter was saying after he gave the most recent press conference that it's interesting what the current most recent things he's saying are, where he had no idea basically what was going on with it, because now he's basically saying definitively, if it comes out that he was involved somehow, I am guilty. Whereas before he still had some deniability. So he has drawn a line in the sand that makes me think he probably is pretty clean. I feel like you wouldn't do this if you were potentially remotely dirty. But I was hoping Griffin would say, I'm terrified, and I'll trade him for injured Justin Steele, which we can do if you want.
I'll have to pass this time, but
Dustin
yeah, I definitely
Verlander is
did
out there
believe him.
saying,
Ooh. Yeah, so I believed him, but I think I'm a little biased. I think Shohei is the greatest ever, so obviously I think he's good. I don't think he's going to be suspended.
Yeah, you're probably right about
Do
it. Probably avoids it. But it wouldn't shock me if he does end up getting suspended. I'd say it's like 85-15.
Would you bet on it?
Yeah, I think at like 80. Like if you gave me whatever 15% odds are, I'd probably put like $1 on that. Do you think it's significant?
Let's do it.
You think it's a lot different?
Yeah, no. I just think it'd be fun to bet on.
It's like what would that be, like around 6-1?
Yeah. 6.6 to 1.
I'll risk 1.67 if you risk 10. That's fine. I'll do that.
I think we're getting into the part of the podcast where it's just us talking about Shohei Ohtani that no one wants to listen to for half an hour.
Well, we haven't even started the good Shohei discourse. But yeah, I was going to say, we've got about 8 minutes left on this one. We covered all the moves and stuff. Do you guys have any other closing things you want to hit on? We have your draft covered.
I wanted to cover something sort of interesting to me, just to sort of toot my own horn. I made my own swing decision model, sort of like how Stuff Plus works. It's a whole lot more simpler.
Wait, were you on Rates and Barrels?
Yes.
Because I was listening, I was like, Brendan,
that was me.
That's not our Brendan.
Whoa!
It is our Brendan, yes. So that's something that's obviously really super interesting to me. And it's my own, like, I used to like have aspirations of working in a front office or whatever. I studied computer science in school, so I know a little bit, but not a lot, enough to be dangerous. But now that married with a baby on the way, I can't like work in a baseball front office. It's like not going to work. So it's sort of like now just like I do what I want. I don't know. I'm happy to answer any questions about it or give you stats from any player you want to hear about, or even have help. Like if people have ideas or want to make their own statistic, I'm happy to I don't know. A part of me wants to publish the stuff a little bit, get back on social media, and I don't know.
Dude, you should.
We'll see where it goes with it, but I can't do it all myself. So whatever. If anyone wants to help me or has any questions or wants to know about anything, please ask me. Otherwise, I wanted to see if you guys knew or you could guess who the top, I don't know, 20 or something are in plate discipline in the major leagues from last year.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Real quick, do you want to plug it more? Like, I feel like
yeah, dude, you
didn't
should.
really
I know anything.
I don't know. It's Eno talks about this Seager metric. I did my own correlation of Seager to I think I did WOBA. I did only qualified hitters. Mine predicted WOBA better than this Seager metric did. So I don't know that means much. Again, I'm just a dude with a computer, but I don't know. It's pretty good. It's better than zone rate, zone swing rate, minus chase rate. So I don't know. It's interesting. Obviously, it leaves out barrels and hard hit and things like that for now. But with all the swing path stuff coming to StatCast, like I'm super interested into that. Like I want to come up with a swing path grade on my own time. I mean, it'll take a while, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I wanted to plug that, but then I feel like it'd be a cool game to just see if you guys can guess who are some of the top guys.
Griff, you go first. Let's do it. This is awesome, Brennan. And also, that kid in 18 years, You'll still be a young man. You could definitely still do that if you want to.
Yeah, maybe.
Once you're done taking all our money in this league, dude, you should definitely go do that.
We'll see.
Griff, you go first.
All right, first Mookie Betts. Oh, wait, am I cheating? I have OPS last year pulled up, like just to give me a basis.
It's
that
not
cheating?
about OPS, but yeah.
This is not the
Just
OPS.
to like remember. Is Mookie on
No,
there?
it depends. Do I want to filter on? I'll filter on just more than 100 at bats. Mookie Betts is down at like, I don't know, number 30 or something. I gave him a 65 grade, so that's good, but not quite tippy top.
Darn.
I'll take. Is Jordan on it?
Surprisingly, no.
Oh.
I gave Jordan only a 60, so he's still pretty good, but he chases more than you expect.
He does. Okay.
One.
Yeah.
Oh
Just a little
wait,
bit.
we're probably snaking, right? So you get another.
You can do
pick.
whatever. We don't have a lot of time.
Yeah,
so.
we're gonna do.
That's fine. We can stake that.
All right.
I'll say Freddie Freeman.
Well, no, but Freddie Freeman, let's see. Not quite. Also a 65. So not quite.
Damn.
There are some
Okay,
obvious ones and some less obvious ones.
Juan Soto.
Juan Soto is number 2.
That's a good one. Shit. Okay. Nice
Yeah.
call.
All right. Yandy Diaz.
Yandy Diaz was down near Mookie Betts.
I figured he was on your team. I was like, okay, maybe. All right.
There's another guy who, was on my team.
I was gonna say, what about Corey Seager?
Corey Seager, I only have him as a 60, so it's interesting. He swings a lot, so he chases a lot. He chases more than average, believe it or not. Well, maybe not more than average, but he chases more than you might expect.
Kyle Tucker.
Kyle Tucker also rates very high, but I don't think is quite top 20.
Yeah, okay. Back to you for
Aaron
two.
Judge.
Aaron Judge is number 1.
Damn.
Nice.
So Soto for 1 and 2. Wow.
Yes.
About
We got one more.
Bryce Harper.
I want to say he's also too aggressive for my model. Only a 60. All these guys obviously have very good plate discipline, so we're not off base. But
What about Adley?
Adley is also only a 60 because I looked that up recently.
Okay. And then what about Matt Olson?
Matt Olson. I haven't looked at that one recently. Also a 60.
Damn.
65, sorry. Yeah, so these are all really good players. You're dancing around it.
I'm getting waxed. You got me 2-0.
I know. I got another. Nolan Jones.
Nolan Jones does not have as good a plate discipline as you might expect. I think I have him at like 45.
I know he has high OBP.
He has because he doesn't swing a lot. So you still want to swing at pitches inside the zone. So he's like 10% less than average, even in the heart of the zone or something. I'm just rattling off the top of my head. I don't know that that's true, but
Makes sense though. Like conceptually, that would make sense.
well, we're running out of time, so I'll just say the top 10 or something. So Aaron Judge is 1, Juan Soto, Davis Schneider is number 3.
Liz!
Yeah. Edward Julien is 4th. So he obviously great to play discipline. Pavin Smith, Andrew McCutcheon, JJ Bleday, Taylor Walls, Lamont Wade Jr., Brandon Belt, Miguel Vargas, Alex Bregman, Matt Tice, Tony Kemp, Christian Yelich, Anthony Rendon, Kevin Biggio, and then Ronald Acuna, Andy Diaz, and Mookie Betts is right there too.
Damn.
So that's like the top, I don't know, 25 or 30 or something.
Dude, we should have opened with this, Brandon. We can even come back for like 5 minutes if you want. We need to hear you plug this more, maybe.
It's up to you. It's up to you.
Now, real quick, when that rates and barrels question came up, I was like, how funny would it have been if 2 guys wrote into podcasts and had it aired? And I was like, there's no way this is Brendan. It's so.
Yeah, Griff, how do you feel about less of the 2 more impressive write-ins now for the year?
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. I'm definitely at the bottom.
Dude, that's
like,
wild.
Do you like boring pictures?
I'll send one for 5 minutes. We'll just finish up.
I'm down.
All right, I'll see you next. All right, we are back. Because we got to hear a little more about that, Brennan. So, one, just because I imagine people weren't expecting to hear what they heard with a big surprise there. Explain just in 6 seconds again what the stat is, and then I want to talk a little about the guys who aren't good at it too, just like as some other like.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's just a modeled run value based purely on swing and take decisions, just purely on location of pitch. So it doesn't have anything to do with the type of pitch or the movement or anything, just purely location of pitch and whether you swung at it or not. So, and then obviously once you've, it's just a little random forest model. And once predict values, you can compile for all the different pitches for each player and come up with a score basically for each player. So I've graded everybody on like a 20 to 80 scale, which yeah, everybody in the major leagues and then also AAA from last year.
And I was just thinking as you brought this up initially, shit, what do we not know about the guys Brendan has stashed? We are in trouble, aren't we?
I don't know. Jonathan Aranda, I wanted. So I think that's a good one. But yeah, I mean, Edouard Julien obviously is very good. Forget who else. David Schneider, I really like. So there are a few guys. Nolan Jones was okay, but had good batted ball stats in AAA.
Well, just for my curiosity too, we don't have to maybe play the same game, but like, who are some of the surprising ones? You don't have to give away the whole goose here, but like, who are some of the ones in the bottom part?
In the bottom or ones that I was surprised by?
Well, I guess, I mean, when you list the top 20 ones, there were a lot of surprises in there. Like JJ Bleday was one I was surprised by.
Yeah, JJ Bleday, I like JJ Bleday for that reason. Yeah.
But who are some guys that are good players that like do not rank high?
Well, we know Ellie De La Cruz.
Ooh. I believe in that, yeah.
The worst of the worst is Javier Baez and Salvador Perez.
That's how you know it's a good stat, though, because I might have guessed Javi Baez if you made me guess.
Who else is low? Yainer Diaz, the catcher, also had a really bad score. I gave him a 30. Let's see. Andres Jimenez, I gave a 35. Ellie De La Cruz had a 35.
Can I ask where's Bo?
Sorry?
Where's Bo?
Bo? I bet you probably in the middle.
You say Bohm or Bo, Griff?
Bo Bichette. Because I know he's someone
I gave him a 40, so yeah, he swings a lot. In
that makes
general,
sense. He doesn't walk as much as he should.
Yeah. In general, it doesn't like you swinging, which that's what Eno said on Rates and Barrels, like guys swing too much. So in general, it likes you not swinging, but if you're way too passive, it'll knock you. So that's no one way too passive.
Can I ask how about Joey Gallo? Because I know he's someone he'll swing and miss a ton, but I think his big breakout in like 2018 was because he stopped swinging at crazy pitches.
Yeah, I gave him a 60. So
wow,
he just misses when he swings, but
yeah. I guess. I don't know. So, some of these could be way off base. One weird one is like Gunnar Henderson only being a 50.
That is interesting. He's the one I would have thought was kind of high, but I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
No, you.
I was going to say he was a 70 in 2022. So then obviously the whole story that offseason was he should swing more, he should be more aggressive, and he was. That gets you knocked in my stat, but that sort of tells you the importance of plate discipline versus contact quality. So it's obviously not the greatest stat because it completely ignores contact quality. And that's probably more important, maybe doubly more important. So.
Yeah, most of that isn't a vacuum, man. It's awesome that you have sort of an idea of who's making good decisions. Because if you have, on the one side, good decisions, then also on the other side, like you said, quality of contact, like is everybody stinging the ball like John Car? Like I was gonna say when Griffin was asked, guys, where's Stanton at?
Stanton?
Yeah.
Average.
What about Vlad Jr.? Think about the guys who hit the ball piss missile everywhere, like the exit velocities.
I gave 55 to Vlad Jr., which I think makes sense. He still has good walk rates.
Yeah. Damn, that's so cool. And last question on it. What inspired you to make like this stat? Was it hearing them talk about Eno's Corey Seager one?
No, I started it probably in December of 2021, I think. I don't know. I like Stuff Plus, I guess, and I figured I could learn how to do something. I don't know a whole lot about how that all works, but I was able to do something with it. I just figured plate discipline was probably something where just using like walk rate that's probably not a very good assessment of plate discipline because guys either swing too much or they don't. So generally, you just if you don't chase, you also are not swinging at strikes. So it's I thought it would be a good idea to try to iron out who is actually making good decisions.
I think it's bananas cool.
Yeah, and I like the sort of QA trying to like you guys are asking players. I'm cool with like spot checking who we think has good plate discipline because that like gives me a little more confidence that what I'm doing isn't just a piece of shit.
No, not at all. Dude, you said the end of the year in 2021.
I think so.
If you need any,
No, 2022. Sorry.
even better then, because I was gonna say. So at the end of 2022, guys, set the scene here. Brendan decides to make this up. He then smashes all of us that year while he was doing this, and is basically 1A, 1B last year. So the time it took to put this up, you've been smashing.
I think it helped having good keepers more.
I don't know. Well, when you have the good keepers a year from now, we find out they're also amazing in this stat. It'll be like, oh, well, interesting.
Maybe. Wyatt Langford grades pretty well. So does Jackson Holiday. You might not be surprised to hear that.
Where's Chirrio on it?
Let's see. Sorry, I have to. Oh, he doesn't qualify in AAA. Let's see. I gave him a 65, but only in 28, like 24 plate appearances.
That's hard. I would have thought. That's impressive.
No, this is, don't believe it. It's really noisy in small samples. Really noisy. You need like something 400 or 500 pitches for it to even level out. And I think even then, still guys have periods where they're seeing the ball well or not seeing the ball well. So I don't know. I have a little plotter where it will plot the rolling graphs and
rolling average of it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, and I've been trying to correct it for like the quality of pitches people see. So like if a guy sees more balls, he's gonna have a better score.
Yeah.
But I haven't quite figured out a good way to correct for that yet that really works. So I don't know. We'll see. The small sample stuff is a big point of improvement.
Has it been pretty sticky year to year? Like do Soto and Judge as your 1-2 this past year, were they, if you remember, you probably have it in front of you, but 2022, 2023 were they the same, similarly elite, if not number one?
The model has changed since then. I'd have to go back. I don't know. I would. I mean, yes, but yeah. I don't know that they're necessarily 1 or 2, but they would definitely be top 50.
Yeah, they probably were doing well.
Yeah, I haven't done much season to season work. This was like the first off season where I really started to do like significant stuff with it. Like it was first just a grade, and now I have a grade and trying to correct things, and I don't know, correcting for a whole bunch of other things and making plots and trying to get into count specific things, and yeah.
Okay. So, in a vacuum, like putting it alongside other stats, like the quality of the pitch they're facing, the situation game wise, like
yeah.
Really
his quality is interesting. That isn't in yet, but could be a factor that matters.
Well, you don't ever want
to also do it like by pitch type too.
Yeah.
Is it a 2080 grade? Is that
basically? I mean, 2080 isn't necessarily limited. Yeah, it's just 10 points off 50 is one standard deviation. So in small samples, some people get over 80, which is crazy.
So what are the biggest like inputs then?
It really is just X and Y when it crosses the plate and whether the guy swings, and the count is pretty much it. Like it's really simple. So I don't want to toot my horn too much because that's really simple. But yeah, and the Z is scaled based on the size of the zone too. So like when I first did it, I think it graded Aaron Judge like crazy good just because he's so tall. So his strike zone is so much bigger that like it thought everything was a ball. Not everything.
Altuve is ass at this probably.
Well, Altuve swings too much in general.
Yeah.
But it should be corrected for that now.
And you did say when you first brought this up, Brendan, but like you mentioned if we have anybody in the league who's interested in like helping you out? What can people do to help you out?
I don't even know. Like I don't have my ducks in a row. I think it'd be interesting to collect some sort of collection of stats and maybe put it on a website or something and start making Reddit posts or something. Or I don't even know. I don't have the I'm not going to do that myself. I
Yeah.
don't really care to, but I feel like it's useful, and this is a group of people who are really excited about baseball. So it, if anybody, it's not going to, I'm not going to bring it off the ground by myself. But if somebody is equally as interested, I feel like we could do some cool stuff, like as a set of people. I don't know. That makes me sound like I'm trying to farm off work.
No, I was gonna say what I'm hearing is Brendan needs an intern.
Not really. I'm not
I
Nick
know.
Pollock. I don't know.
Of course
I
not.
just if if I don't have help, it will just be my own thing that I use for fantasy baseball, and that'll be fine with me. But if other people are interested, I could see it being interesting for more than just my own, yeah, my own fantasy baseball team. So I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
Griff,
it is
you have
pretty
any other
crazy
questions you
though.
want to ask or anything? I don't want to like drill you too hard, Brendan, on it.
No,
I think it's really cool.
I like being able to sanity check. So this is good. Even if people just say, "Hey, how does this guy grade?" That is great to me because that sanity checks it, and they can ask questions about why that might be or whatever. I don't know. I'm really interested in it. So if it
No, is there a way
resonates with
we
me,
could? Is there a way we
sorry.
could see all of it? Like, could you share it with us or?
Um,
I don't know if you want to.
no, I don't mind. Let's see. Can I share my screen now?
Come
I
on,
could
give us your
probably put it in
proprietary.
It's
I could
mine, so it
probably
should be
put
shareable. Yeah,
some kind of thing.
it
I
should
don't
allow
know.
you to
I gotta figure it out.
go to more and then I think share.
Okay, I don't have that anymore.
That's
Guy
pretty
can
good.
figure out a model, but can't figure out Zoom.
Need computer help.
Yeah, I do.
Well, that's what the intern's for. I'm trying to like give on mine. I have it it says mute, stop video, security, share screen reactions.
Oh.
Like if I expand
You
it
guys,
out,
are,
it's no
This
longer
is
visible.
great podcasting. I still don't see it.
Dude, this is also mid podcast. This is all just me and Kyle usually talking about like what we're interested in with this specific league. It's only for us anyway.
yeah, but now I'd be either arguing Shohei Ohtani or Jake McCarthy. Like
This is
this
exponentially
would
more
have been
fun,
dead
Brendan, like
time.
me and Griffin debating Shohei's fantasy versus real life value.
Yeah, it might be. I still can't figure out how to share my screen. But yes, I have an Excel spreadsheet that has all the grades in it. So
Maybe if
yeah,
everybody's lucky, or Brendan will share like a screenshot of one of the pages then or something.
maybe.
I think it is good to know though that you're probably not using it to pull one over on us, considering you traded away number one and number two on the list.
I did, yeah. And Kyle Tucker was one of my favorites, like from the get go too. And it really hurt me to trade away Kyle Tucker.
Now, I actually thought of something else. I don't know if I should transition to something else or, but because it also involves Brendan.
Oh, go ahead.
That's it. Can
Okay.
you see my screen? Is that sharing? Oh no,
No,
probably
it is
now it
now.
is.
Yeah.
So with
Oh
the,
yeah.
there were like a lot of people complaining about the rule changes, and I feel like we finally have two people on the pod who are probably neutral or positive about it. So I just wanted to share that like these discussions about the 30% have been going on since January 2022. And this was when Brendan was like, we should do a percentage. And I was like,
Yeah.
we should do $10. So just
Oh
funny, like
yeah.
like the discussions really haven't changed all that much in 2 years. So
Yeah, this is very similar to what we end up doing.
Yeah, I was happy.
What are the other comments
uh,
underneath? Anybody else say anything besides the two of us?
you said you don't dislike this idea. It was
Nick
only once
hates
you
it
came on
now.
the podcast you had to. You just had to be cool for your friends.
No, I don't dislike it in general. I'm hesitant in general to change anything because I've been building with a thing in mind, but I don't know. I think this is a pretty good system. And it's not that different from what we already do.
Yeah. I feel like after seeing the draft, I don't know if we should talk about it, but like after seeing the draft, it definitely hammered home like why we needed this. Where just inflation was like kind of off the charts. So I'm personally glad we did it, even if I think it hurts my team quite a bit because all my guys are in like the 20 plus range.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
But
yeah, I feel that way with like Vlad and Alonzo and Altuve and all these guys like that. But the truth is, it just means you should do what Brendan's doing. Again, first mover advantage here and like trade for all the young guys, or do what Kyle's doing and go all in, which
Maybe.
yeah, and
is kind of what's
I'm
fun.
just gonna stay in the middle.
You're gonna try to be that guy in seventh place, Griff?
Oh yeah. No, just not trade away keeper value. I feel like I never can. I never have.
It's
I
hard.
never will.
I'll take keeper value this year.
Me too.
That's what he's saying is he doesn't want to trade it away.
I mean, that's why even last year I was like a contender and I made, you know, win future trades.
That's why I'm sort of amenable to this conceptually, both here and then also 2 years later when we finally voted on it, because I do think like I felt 2 years ago and feel even more so now that what you're saying, Griff, or last year you were in what, like third or fourth place, and you were mostly trying to accrue keeper value. Like we need something that makes it harder to exclusively accrue value, where either you need to just like really prioritize only accruing the value, or you need to prioritize going for it now. And I do think when there's less potential, like 6, 7 year keeper value to be accrued, it might maybe make it less of an incentive for people to do what I think the last couple of years have kind of leaned towards doing, whether you're competing or not.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
I think we're good. I think we're good now. Hopefully.
The truth is, though, too, there's going to be probably some unforeseen thing with almost every rule we change where not that it goes terribly or goes bad, but just it's different in a way that ends up being exploitable too. I don't know what it is for this. I don't know what it is for most of them. But I've just found over the years, the way like my brain works is once we have a rule that's in there, I'm like, okay, how can I maximize what I can do with it now?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the smartest guy in this league. Like Brendan clearly can build systems that tell you who the best players are. Griffin, you're really sharp at this shit. Kyle's put a lot of time into it. Like Raymond has won as much time. It's like someone else will decide the way to break the rule. Griffin will stream all the starters the one year and then get all the safe holds. Like it'll be something that with most rules we change just creates a new way to be efficient, not break the rule. That's the wrong way to think about it. Being efficient, I think, is the way to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I wish more people had commented here that Brendan with us. It's a bummer, or Griffin too, I guess. I'd love to see what like a random
Well,
person. Oh, Zach said something. What did Zach say? Was Zach in or not?
oh, let's see. A year cap.
Oh, he likes the years of contract, which is what we didn't end up doing. But it's a thing I think is similar to what we're talking about here.
Yeah. I just, with a league that's like ours, I understand that we want to, like, we all want to have these players that we keep forever and dominate, but in 5 years, like the league could look a lot different in terms of who's in it or what. Like we're not all in it for 30 years. And if there isn't more, if there, well, my point of view was if there wasn't more roster turnover, then what are some of us doing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Although now I feel like we're not going to have any owner turnover because of this pod. Like
I hope not.
I could
I
I
like
couldn't
That's what
imagine leaving at this point.
That's what we should have made this poll. Was we don't need to change any rules. We need to have more pods. That's what it was the whole time. We just have guys who are clearly very into it now. I don't know. We always had a couple guys, like one or two, I feel like weren't that deeply invested. Brendan, you've been in it the whole way though. You were in the very first. I think you, me, and Zach are the only ones from the very start.
Maybe.
If you count Raymond being back now, I guess he
Yeah.
was when it
Wait,
started.
so Were you pre auction league?
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Like even?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
When Nick had like 7 first-round picks, so the seventh one he got to keep for the seventh round value. Yeah. I'm glad he went to auction. Yeah. Him keeping Manny Machado for a seventh round pick.
That's exactly
Kinda,
what it was one year. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Now,
It's
I don't know
funny.
about you guys, but did you guys used to get people like mixed up? Like I feel like there used to be so much turnover that like Alex Brzezinski, Max Arias, like I kind of got a lot of people like confused.
It's funny you
So
say
now it's nice to like
just
finally
those
know.
people, but like we have two marks now. We have
Two, like 7 raisings.
yeah,
Everyone wants
everyone's
to
name
rate.
is the same. No, I mean it's always just been about finding like good owners who actually care.
Yeah. And I'm glad that we're a little more integrated too, because like being someone who like only knows Nick,
Yeah.
it's good that everybody's using the trade block and we're all messaging each other on, whether it's text or on fan tracks or whatever. For a while, I like only traded with Nick and it didn't work out so well.
I
So
feel like that's a good point, Brennan. What the pod does more than anything else is just it
yeah,
flattens. People can see you and hear you talk and like understand you a little bit better and want to talk to you. You're more
Yeah, I
approachable.
feel like that was the worst thing was like all trades used to go through Nick. It felt like because anytime someone wanted to offload, it's like the only person I know is Nick. Let me go to him.
That was not my intention, though. You're making it sound like I like intentionally built a league
Well,
where
no,
nobody knows each other
no,
besides
it's
me.
not.
it's just natural. Like you talk to your friends more than you
Yeah,
know you hit up someone you don't really know.
but a beautiful example of that too. That and I used to get not annoyed, but frustrated, especially when we were still like doing like all those keepers. Brendan, you're talking about with like the seventh round pick for Machado those years because it was so much work in ESPN system too. And for a long time, it was just me doing it. But like Raymond helped me before, Griffin's helped me. We have a lot of people who are like basically co-league managers now. And like Roman coming into the league years ago now, I didn't bring him in. Griffin, I'd never even heard of him.
Well, not my friend, but he's my enemy.
But it's just, I think the point you're making, you both made is basically like things that you just have to go through me. Raymond's uncle was in it without Raymond for a while. I have no relationship with Charlie besides just knowing he's Raymond's uncle. Mark, I think, is probably closer to Mark's dad than I am now. That's probably helpful. I think it's a lot flatter, which is good.
Yeah.
There's not owners making this crazy moves. It seems like everyone kind of knows their stuff, other than like Roman, but everyone else is pretty good.
Is
I
Roman your
hope
guy this
Roman
year?
beats you.
I don't. Well, so the thing is, like, I feel like to trash talk someone, they have to be like towards the top, kind of. And Roman's been trash for so long. Like now, I can finally trash talk him. You know, and it's easy because he's always like, "Oh, look how good my team did today." It's like it's spring training, dude. Actually, I did message him. I did some investigative journalism. I wanted to see if he thought his team was better or worse after spring training. Because, he had like O'Neal Cruz went off, but he also had Yuri Perez hurt. And
Hmm.
he didn't give me a good soundbite answer. So that's it.
He just kind of gave you mush, or he didn't have an opinion.
He was kind of flip floppy. He was like, "Oh yeah, on the one hand, Perez got hurt. On the other hand, O'Neal Cruz had a bunch of homers." And I was like, "Okay, can't really soundbite that."
He's
He just
all,
I'll,
wanted you guys to talk bad about him.
I'll give you the soundbite. I don't know what pitching he has other than Yuri Perez, who's hurt because Zach Gallen's down 2 ticks.
yeah.
His pitching got worse in the last 2 weeks. So that's rough.
Yeah, I'll be
And then
curious if
Shoto
Gallen gets
Monica's
that
not
velo
good.
back over the next few starts. I feel like that happens sometimes, like especially the guys who've been doing it for a while. They come out slower. But yeah, I saw the same thing, but I think it was 2.1 or whatever. I was concerned seeing that.
That kind of reminds me, I'm kind of worried. I think Chris Bassett's going right now. And I'm so worried I'm going to look over and it's like
Oh,
last
he
year where he
always
had
does
two
that.
innings. Like I'm so, and it's
He's
just going
the
to even
exact
tank me
example, actually,
further.
of what I'm saying. Where like most years his velocity is last year spring training he was down like 4 miles an hour for the first couple starts too, but he got better.
Zach Wheeler
Yeah, but
too. Like that's a big one.
Oh yeah, last year he was
Whoever has Zach Wheeler should not be scared of early season velocity dip.
at least the last 2 years he did that.
I think whoever had him last year said that you texted him, Brendan, like you should be
Oh yeah, it
worried
was
his
his. He
velo's
said on
down.
the pod.
No, yeah, so, sort of like that. Yeah, I got a little bit extra for Wheeler because he had just had a bad start where his velo was down.
You made out like a bandit there too, Brendan, because obviously Wheeler's really good. But for whatever reason, I've talked to him since then. I used to the same way Kyle gave Miz grief about trading me Mookie Betts. I gave him grief for giving up. I don't remember what he gave up in that trade did with the Wheeler side, but I
Oh,
remember being
it
like, dude,
was
what a great deal for Brendan. Wheeler's so fucking good, and he was like, "Nah, Wheeler's ERA is gonna be like 4.8 by the end of the year. He's so bad. He just hates Wheeler."
it was Nathaniel Lowe. So
I
it was
love
Jake
that.
McCarthy.
I love that. Yeah, it could have been Jake McCarthy.
And actually,
All right.
Brendan, that reminds me of another question, real quick.
Yeah,
We
go
You
won't
ahead.
didn't
end,
keep
will we?
you didn't I remember in 2022 you didn't keep Luis Castillo, and then
Yeah.
last year you dropped Zach Wheeler. But I mean that was for the stretch run. Like I guess you had to. I don't know what my question is.
Yeah, I regret not keeping last year Luis Castillo and Kevin Gosman. Yeah,
I
those two
didn't-
guys I did not think would be values, but ended up being values. Should have kept them.
Has your auction assessment, Brendan, been the same as basically what me and Kyle said the last couple times since the auction happened? Where I feel like at the very top, the guys actually weren't as crazy as I thought it would be. But basically, after the top like 20 players went, everybody was overpriced by a lot. Like the middle got really, really inflated, in my opinion.
There were some guys I was trying to go after that went for $5 to $10 more than I. That's part of. Yeah, it was
I
tough.
expected for the
Like
top end, but like percentage wise, like a guy who's $20 going for $10 more is crazy to me.
I
But
wanted Carlos Correa. I
yeah,
thought Carlos Correa, good bounce back. I could get him for 10, $12. Went for like 30.
yeah.
So tough.
I'm not even sure the takeaway there is too, other than just like get your guys maybe, or like don't get anybody in the auction because I feel like the last 2 years have been very stable that way. I think it was more or less the flashy guys last year, like or 2 years ago now. We did, or I guess a year and a month ago, whatever it would have been. Like I think about Miguel Vargas and Volpe and like a lot of the buzzy dudes
Mm-hmm.
who weren't the elite players also just got artificially bid up a lot. Or the year before, both of them, Andrew Vaughn was like $30.
Yeah, I remember bidding up Dylan Carlson.
Ooh, yeah, I think I got him.
I think I won Dylan Carlson. I think me and you bid against each other
Wow.
on Dylan Carlson.
At some point, I loved him for a long time. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so did I.
yeah. But another example of one who just didn't even end up being that good of a value. Which I never have any money, but it makes me think I should just in these auctions moving forward, just like get my guys at the top and then wait till the very end.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know. We're sort of getting in the weeds here. I thought you could have been more aggressive with the money you had, but
Interesting, really. I
you
only had
did
like
fine with it. I thought you were a little too focused on $1 and $2. Whereas I think you had like 30. Could have bought a $20 guy.
Yeah, I think my max bid was like 33 or something like that.
Yeah, that's not insignificant. I mean,
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
I don't know.
I feel like I prioritized kind of like you were saying, like the injury stash guys, and just wanted to wait till the very end. 'Cause I feel like historically I bid out too soon and just get stuck having to get the $1 guys. So I was like, I'll fill my catcher eventually. I just couldn't do it forever. Um, I don't know. It was a weird exercise. It also I feel like not factored into that too is like being in like a group setting. So I was with like five or six of the other guys. So I was kind of just like conversing more. I don't know. I
Too
feel like
much
it helps like
chatter.
find the pocket there. It's always the first guy or two, and then I feel like there is a pocket right before the guys start getting too high inflated. Like maybe after like 30 or 40 guys go, where there are some values. Like the Xander Bogarts was a huge
Yeah,
value.
there will always be values, and I think going forward I might try to, in general, keep just a little less players so I can have the flexibility to be able to get the values. Like too often I find myself seeing a value and be like, oh, it doesn't fit my team.
Yeah.
I don't want to close those doors anymore. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it's hard on the other side when you
See,
become like the price enforcer who gets stuck holding like, oh, I didn't think there was any way the starting pitcher should go for $2 less than I had him at, or $4 less than I had him at. So now I have three starters and I can't really buy anybody else. I think there's like a tough side whether you go in with the no money or if you go in with too much. Ultimately, the best thing is just keep guys at surplus value and then draft the guys who are cheap. It's obvious when you say it that way, but like it is interesting. I try to guess in advance the last couple of years what I think guys in our league will drift towards or what they'll prioritize, what I think will be inflated. And truthfully, I'm just not great at anticipating it, I found.
I feel like it's also hard though because of how like uneven the the pools of money are. It's hard when one team has like their full budget and another team has 30. It's like you can't really. It's a lot harder to calculate that.
Raymond specifically this year was a unique thing we won't have again.
Yeah. He
And
had
like
the
I had no
ability to
impact
spend
on it.
whatever he wanted on pretty much anybody he wanted. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think he was pretty rational with it too, though. Getting Ramirez, getting Castillo, getting Trout. I would have probably even gone one more, honestly. But I think he made generally what I would have done.
No,
Yeah.
I guess I don't know if you want to keep going, but what did um what did he get in comparison to what Brendan got? Because he's traded away like two studs, right? With
Trade away
Joe
Jose
Ram
Ramirez.
and
He
He
got
got
was
Grayson.
that it though?
he got Glaber and he got Josh Young as sort of keepable guys in those. He got Siri, who he thinks is keepable. I don't know if I necessarily agree quite as much.
You
Um,
just triggered my Siri.
oh, really? Jose, Siri. But and then Glaber, who he traded away. You'll need to unlock. Oh, mine too, actually.
I
Mine was
think
like
that was for Jung though, right? It was Torres for Jung
yeah,
was
and
the
then
big.
Grayson. So Grayson's the big one from the Ramirez deal, and then Jung is probably the big one from the other deal.
Yeah.
So Brendan, which would you rather have? Half of a Corbin Carroll or Grayson and Josh Young?
It's Corbin Carroll.
Just half though.
Just half of Corbin
Yeah, what does
Carroll?
that even
Oh,
mean?
Yeah,
What are
oh.
you
yeah.
saying?
Well, what is half
Well,
of
so
Corbin Carroll? I don't know.
Help me understand that. What are you talking about?
okay, yeah. So he traded away one big time guy in Jose Ramirez, and he got back Young and Grayson Rodriguez. And then you traded away two good guys and got back Corbin Carroll. So it's like he traded away half of what you traded away.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to put too much stake in the two studs for Corbin Carroll, and then it's like half of one for one stud. I think just like to get Corbin Carroll, you need to put up an offer that is sufficiently ridiculous in value. So, like, if I tried to nickel and dime Kyle, he probably doesn't have any time for that. So, I'll just hit him with my best offer, and that's probably not mathematically indicative of some value that Corbin Carroll has. I just want Corbin Carroll, and I know that the probably Corbin Carroll away, I'm going to have to give up Soto and Judge, and probably nothing less because nobody else is going to move that kind of value. So, I don't know. I'm not saying your question's stupid, Griffin, but I don't know how to answer it.
I mean, the half part is kind of stupid. I don't understand it, but like, I think Brendan's right where it comes down to like Corbin Carroll is at worst one of like the 4 or 5 best keepers in this league, and it comes down to like macro versus micro. Like, I feel like when you're doing what Raymond did, getting like Young, who is a good keeper but not a great one, Grayson, who's I think getting maybe even a little bit better keeper but not a great one, like got one of the top 5 or 10 ones. There's way more of like there's other top 20-ish keepers out there. So like you have more of a market to try to find them on. You can be more efficient, I think. Brendan's absolutely right in my mind. I have found over the years trading for a player is actually really good and keepable potentially. You have to make like the Godfather offer because in a macro versus micro sense, the other thing is too like if you think Corbin Carroll's in a tier of let's say 4 or 5 players who, given their value and their current pedigree, are similar. Let's say one is on my team and he's my favorite player. I just told you I'm not trading him. No matter what, he won't move. Even if I suck, I just won't trade him. I love this player. And one is on another team that's going for it, so there's no real reason they would probably want to trade him unless you make an even more ridiculous offer. Like very quickly, even if like in a macro sense your offer's good or your offer would be competitive, I feel like micro wise you kind of have to understand in this specific league, there's only so much you can do. Like I think probably there's even though Judge and Soto are incredible, I actually don't think Brennan could have gotten a better one guy than Corbin Carroll for them because again, there's like one or two maybe anyway, and then those owners probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't think I could have gotten Ellie, for instance, Ellie Cruz. Like I think he what might have been my next choice. I don't know. Hate to play discipline, obviously, but like I offered Zach something
He's tantalizing.
great. I've offered him some. I offered him something crazy in the offseason, and I got turned down. That's not surprising, but yeah,
Tantalizing. I'd rather have Corbin Carroll, but you're probably right. Also, Zach, it sounds like wasn't interested in it, which I think is reasonable too.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Well, for me, I'll take a stand. I think half of what Corbin Carroll's about a Grayson and a Young. I think it's pretty close.
Yeah, maybe.
But the thing is, again, though, there's diminishing returns up top. Like, would you rather have a first round pick and a fifth round pick, or 2 third-round picks? You'd much rather have a first and a fifth.
Yeah.
Because at the top, there's top like 1-2% of guys. They're just so much more value. At a snake draft, in a 12-team or 15-team league, you'd rather draft one at the snake and get Acuna, and then whoever's at the end of the second round, than whoever the 2 guys that like Freddie Freeman and Trey Turner at the end of a 12, or whoever would be at the turn.
Yeah, but I'd say that's only because this year Acuna is so far ahead of the rest.
Yeah, I mean, Acuna is unique that way. You're right, but I feel like in fantasy football leagues and other years with baseball, I feel like usually you'd rather be at the 1-1 or the 1-2. And my point is just to illustrate, I think like the very top level, you want that almost no matter what. And then also again, the trading for it. Like if I can't get it, even if you're holding me hostage in a way I can't afford in my mind, like you want more than just Judge Soto for Corbin Carroll. If I want Corbin Carroll or someone like him, he's the only one out there, so I'd have to give whatever it costs to get him. That said, though, like if I was making a package for Corbin Carroll outside of what Brennan did, I don't think Josh Young and Grayson's like insulting.
Well, for half of them, you only get half for that. Or you could just double the other side, I guess. That might make a little more sense.
So 2 Josh Youngs, 2 Graysons for 1 Corbin Carroll.
I think I'd take Corbin just because that's like an illegal
3 extra
trade.
roster spots.
Yeah, and you can't have 2 of one players, so like that's kind of illegal.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
that's
It's an
the hard
interesting
hitting
question.
analysis. I mean, would you do like Bobby Miller, Grayson, Josh Young, and a keepable Cabrian Hayes for Corbin?
I'd much rather.
I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I'd rather have Corbin. Although I love Bobby Miller, but
I like all those guys. It's the best player is so much more valuable.
I will say though, for Raymond's build though, that probably does make more sense.
He uniquely
Like
can
that might,
one, yeah,
yeah, because he does need to like totally rebuild his keepers.
yeah.
So it is different, I guess.
But yeah, you're right. I think I do agree with you on that. But outside of him, and outside of him this year specifically, I think I'd always just want the Corbin Carroll.
yeah.
All right, we
I
have
was
less than a
definitely
minute.
looking for an anchor too around all my
Yeah, what are you going to build around?
prospects. Yeah.
All right, so we got less than a minute. Brendan, thank you for joining us. One last time, he needs an intern, guys. Write in. Send your resumes to Brendan. Thanks for sharing all that, though. I appreciate you, dude. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sure. It's cool.
Griff, you too. Thanks for being my guest co-host while Kyle's out.
Of course.
All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
See you guys.
Trading Corbin Burns.